We're going in here for a cultural purpose.
Can't stop it from coming in here though.
Who are you?
This is private property here, sir.
We
It's
will
a
use
pastoral
everything
list.
in our power to escalate this so that charges will be laid.
Do you have the authority
I
to
have
trespass?
the authority
Do you have the authority
to
to
take this
trespass?
video footage to the police.
We're traditional owners. If you're going to escalate it, you escalate it.
Thank you.
We're going in. Where my land is, there's a mine that's trying to destroy my country. And that country there is the roadmap to my history and knowledge about who I am and my ancestors.
The controversial coal mine project has been fiercely debated for nearly a decade amid concerns about climate change.
Politically, Adani has been sold as a job-creating bonanza.
Without mining, these towns will be nothing.
Yeah, go Adani.
This is a shocking decision that's handing over billions of litres of precious groundwater to a billionaire to build a dirty coal mine.
The water is the most important thing to our people. That spring is the most important thing to our people. The water can't fight for itself.
So the purpose we come out here is for ceremony and for ritual, to cleanse the place, pay respect, and come back to where creation began. My grandmother, great-grandmother, she belonged to the water. They're water people. This is where we belong. And we're expressing our connection to land, environment, the nature, and the water. This is why we have to continue to keep coming here. The ceremony, the ritual, and to maintain that traditional knowledge so it's carried on from this generation to this next generation.
We're just cleaning all that stuff off it. Water holes like these are such a sacred place. We believe that this is the creator spirit.
It's clear now. It's alive again.
See the rest of it running down here?
So we can see the life it creates down through the wetlands here, the bird life it brings in. The young fellas come down to learn as well about it, so in the future they'll look after this place just like their old people used to do. And then their children and their children, because this place needs to be taken care of.
In the beginning, in the creation period, when the earth was void, it was a dark place. The Great Spirit gave us the Gari, the sun. As the water hit the sunshine, what came down was the Mundukara, the rainbow serpent. And when the Mundukara landed here, all life came about. Everything was created from that one thing, the water. So this is Mundukara. Thank you very much. I got no voice and he's run out of air.
The Adani Group says the new mine will bring jobs and deliver royalties that will benefit Australia.
Australia is already one of the world's top coal producers. The coal mine will be one of the largest in the world, boosting Australia's exports by 20%.
There's a huge export market for coal. We're not about to wish that away tomorrow. Countries like Japan, South Korea, China, Vietnam, all demanding clean Australian coal that if they're not getting it from us, they'll get it somewhere else.
On the other side of the road is the Carmichael mine, and we're 4.5 kilometres back inside the mining lease, inside untouched forests here. And this is our makeshift camp. This is our kitchen that we've got here at the moment, but we'll show you around the place. We've got all like dragon fruits and stuff like that growing. Got some fresh baby spinach and aloe vera and stuff. We've got our tool shed up the top here.
Yeah, we've been in this vibe for ages, living out on country. Loving it.
So that's the Starlink. It connects up to the satellites, so we basically get reception everywhere. It's safety for us as well, so if anything was to happen, that we could just go on a live stream straight away. At least we have constant solar. We can get our message out to the world. And in here is Damul, our possum that we found her out on the Gregory Highway. Her mother got hit by a car, so we picked her up and we've taken care of her ever since. Come on, Damul. Come on. Come on, let's get you some watermelons. Come on. Oh, little one. She's so big now. You're so big, look at you. Waddanangu came about from our resistance to Adani and their operations and their threat of destroying Dungulbulla Springs.
You need at least 3 people to be considered a religion. 1 person is a thought, 2 is a discussion, 3 is a belief. And that's according to what? That's just wiki. That's just wiki.
There are so many different cultures within the Aboriginal.
Well, just different denominations. Different denominations of the one religion. It's like Christianity. So you could kind of gather all that history and then put it forth and say you denied our religion.
You denied our religion, yeah.
You denied our religion for...
Since the word go.
So don't deny our religion now.
It's a bit late. We'll go have a nap, eh? I'll put you down, or you want to... Oh, is that how you sleep? Oh, that's you sleeping. Alright, I'll take you, mate. I'll take you, have a nap. Alright, ready to go?
Actions. Going to head back out to country, establish a presence on site, construct new actions to slow production, maintain pressure by inspecting Adani's environmental breaches.
Not really in the game of doing anything illegal.
See you later.
You lose your moral high ground when you start doing illegal things. Ngajo nari kuri. Ngajo yambanani wangu yalangu. My homeland is the Wangana Jagalingu.
It's time for Adani to leave and get out of our country.
The main reason for us here is to perform ceremony. The ceremony is called Waranangu, which means the talking, which is an ongoing ceremony. It's an open-ended ceremony. We're going to stay here until I get 100% confirmation that the Dungabula Springs are not going to be affected. If you can't prove that, then I'm going to stay here. Waramule, here we are at Waranangu. We're sitting right in front of Adani's mine pit. It's day 19 today. We've been here for a while. The cops haven't even come to talk to us. Adani would love to remove us right now. Day 152 here at Waranangu. Day 224 here at Waranangu. We're mucking around with some speakers here. Let's play some dig to it. Yeah. Everyone's getting prepped for the 1 year. I got an eye infection from the dust across the road. This guy. Day 615. 850, sorry. Losing track of the days.
It's crazy. Awesome. This fire's been going since day one.
Yeah.
What day is it now?
962, I think.
Woo!
Remember when day 100? And we were like, yeah, day 100, day 100.
Yeah. Now we're at 962.
The government can't remove us. They know they can't remove us. When we first set up here, we told the police and we told everybody that we've come home. The fire had never stopped. It's become a symbol of our existence. Still going, still here.
The mine's approval is likely to set a precedent for opening up the previously untouched Galilee Basin.
There have been concerns about the impact of the mine on groundwater resources and burning all of that coal, and the impact that will have on global warming.
Climate change is already happening, and the changes being experienced will now become more frequent into the future. Heat waves, bushfires, intense rainfall, coastal inundation, and the time to recover between events will become shorter.
For farmers in this drought-stricken region, groundwater is vital, but they fear the Adani mine could destroy this precious resource.
The Queensland Government has given its blessing to Adani's plan to protect and preserve groundwater at the Central Queensland mine site.
The regulator's decision to approve the groundwater management plan today comes after a comprehensive scientific assessment, and Queenslanders expect nothing less.
Previously, the department said Adani had to identify the source of nearby springs before construction could start. Now it's giving Adani 2 years.
These springs have been providing that incredible, reliable source of fresh water to this environment and to its people since before anyone can remember. First time I came out to Dungulbulla was probably 3 or 4 years ago now, and it was very soon after the Adani mine had been approved. It's collecting water straight from the spring vent itself, which is the best place to sample it, most representative of the aquifer from which the spring is coming from. So we started noticing a couple of things. From time to time actually seeing hydrocarbons being detected within spring waters themselves. If they did naturally have the hydrocarbons, it would actually point to a deeper issue. It suggests that the source aquifer for the springs may be the same as the one that's being mined because it's naturally got the hydrocarbons in the coal. However, if they're now turning up as a new thing, if the hydrocarbons have only really started appearing after mining, then we have to explain why. If it's linked to mining activity, then it's a red flag that, you know, the spring water quality is imminently under threat. The mine has pumped out many, many thousands of megalitres of water. So their modelling is saying that that's going to have a really strong local effect around the mine pit itself, but that effect is not going to spread and thereby come over here and start affecting the springs. We've found some good evidence that there's actually more connectivity of what's been used in the modelling by Adani. Extracting a large amount of water 10 kilometres away can actually cause quite significant impact from one point to the other. It's telling you that these springs might not have much time before those drawdown effects from the mine actually start propagating up the river corridor and come up here to the springs. Levels should, if anything, really be going up because we've had a wetter period in Queensland over the past 3 or so years. I now think it's really clear that we're seeing signs that the impact from the mine is greater than what had been predicted when it was approved. I think that needs to prompt a full re-evaluation of that approval and also just an evaluation of the ongoing operation of the mine.
They were promised by the state government that their springs would be safe. And Matthew Currell, in his report, provides a very good evidential basis that the springs currently are under a great threat from the mine. In 2019, the Human Rights Act has come in Queensland. The Human Rights Act in Section 28 says that the right of our clients to practice their culture and have their sacred places protected, those things, they can't be limited by colonial law. So that's a judicial review application with human rights grounds in the Supreme Court of Queensland. It will be a really important test case and a case that will be followed by other First Nations people who are wanting to protect their culture and country.
G'day Adrian, how you going?
Hi Alison, it's nice and hot up here at Warranungu.
Is it?
Yeah, 42 in the shade. It's bearable.
So, what comes along with this judicial review?
Sorry, the court will look at whether or not the decision was made compliantly with the Human Rights Act.
Okay.
Then they need to actually hear all your evidence. You know, what's happened in the past, not just to you now, but also to your people.
The mine is impacting the springs. The consequences of that is impacting the springs is impacting our human rights.
There's very compelling evidence from well-respected experts there that have been provided, not just once, but multiple times to the department.
Yeah.
Looking at sort of filing around February.
Do it. Yeah, I'll steam ahead.
Thanks very much.
Right,
See ya.
Alrighty. Lawyer sounds optimistic. We sound optimistic.
So we go to war against the government, against Adani. It's time now. And it could change the way law looks at Aboriginal human rights.
This is coal. Don't be afraid.
The
Don't be scared.
The Treasurer knows the rule on crops.
It's coal. There's no word for coalophobia officially, Mr. Speaker, but that's the malady that afflicts those opposite. But it's that malady, Mr. Speaker, that is afflicting the jobs in the towns and the industries and indeed in this country because of their pathological, ideological opposition to coal being an important part of our
the way that all the greenies come through and they just look like idiots coming into a town like this. That's a really strong mining town.
We're all coal miners. It supports our community. Without the coal industry here, we'd be screwed pretty much.
Without mining and without the Galilee Basin going ahead, these towns will be nothing.
Yeah, go Adani.
So I've been following the story about the Adani-owned Carmichael coal mine for about 5 or 6 years now. And finally, we've got to a stage where you can see what the impacts are. I started my career as a social worker, and then I became very concerned about climate change, becoming involved in climate activism, and then ended up moving into journalism, which is what I do now. It was in late 2019 that I started covering the story, and I headed up to central Queensland and I started meeting and talking to local people. And I was incredibly struck by the polarised nature of the debate around coal in the area.
Hey man, how you doing? I think the climate's changing.
It's the biggest scam ever.
All the scientists who research it, every day, that they say that this has happened, so I'm like, all right.
I think they've got an agenda. They want to attack our way of life, eh? They want to shut the coal fire off.
I'm Kim, by the way.
Yeah, I'm Dan. How are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, Dan.
I hope that they run the greenies off a cliff. Coal is very, very important, and it can't just be shut down.
So here's my old van. Actually, I think black coal matters is way more important than criminals dying in jails, myself.
It was on one of those trips when I was talking to locals about their views about the mine. That was when I first met Cody McAvoy and his dad, Adrian Boragubba.
Mining is God in this country. One mine has divided a whole nation, you know what I mean? I come from this area. My grandfather comes from this area. He was born here. My great-grandfather was born here. My great-great-grandfather, my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great, for who knows how long, has come from this particular area. We're resisting Adani's occupation.
So I've decided to try to find out what the real impacts are of this mine and see how they measure up against the promises and the warnings that we heard before the mine was approved. We've just arrived in Townsville. Virtually all of the benefits to Australia from the Adani Carmichael mine have ended up here. Most of the mine workers live here in Townsville. The offices of Bravus, which is Adani in Australia, are also here. Adani says that about $750 million was spent here in Townsville. So we're going to the football game because Bravus, which is Adani, sponsor the North Queensland Cowboys. I want to talk to people to find out what they know about Adani.
Would you be up for a chat?
You're a greenie, aren't you?
I'm a journalist, so I'm
greenie.
Jump in, kids! Go, go, go!
So what do you know about Bravus?
My husband used to work in mining, so I know a fair bit about the mining industry. There's good and bad, but they do a lot of community support, 100%. Lots of jobs. I used to live in a coal mining town and there's not a lot of facilities in coal mining towns, so it gives an opportunity for people to be in the industry and not have to necessarily live very far away from their families and still have all the modern convenience of living in town. So I think that's probably a plus that Bravus do really well.
And do you know anything about the Carmichael mine, the mine that Bravus own?
I know when it first looked at starting, there was a lot of controversy around it, and hence the rebranding. That was pretty helpful to sort of move it forward. But I think track record-wise, I think they're doing okay, but every mining company could do better when it comes to environmental sustainability.
Do you guys know much about Bravus?
I've had a little bit of research today, yeah, on the stock exchange.
Okay.
My son, he's a miner, and my other son, he's also in the mines. The Greens don't like us doing it, but hey, it creates a lot of employment. Where there's employment, there's housing, and where there's housing, there's dollars spent and keeps the whole economy going.
We're headed to a pub on the outskirts of Townsville to meet some of the workers from the Carmichael coal mine. They've been telling me pretty worrying stories of unsafe working conditions there, but they've only agreed to speak to me under condition of anonymity. Hey, how you doing? Kieran. Yeah. Water, yeah, water would be great, yeah. Thanks for coming down. Where do you guys want to sit down? Outside or inside? Yeah, let's do it.
People are getting hurt, and every time you bring something like this up, like you talk about safety, people are in fear. They get punished by supervisors and thrown in a corner because, oh no, you spoke up about something. Oh no, you can't do that. You're not allowed to do that. You know, people shouldn't be afraid. I've had a few close calls where I've just been like, oh shit, hang on. And yeah, it's scary. It is scary.
If things aren't improved at Carmichael, is there risk of fatalities, those type of things?
It hasn't happened yet. Yeah. It's only a matter of time.
Today is just to drive down there and give you a look at the project. If Queensland didn't have coal mining, we wouldn't have half the infrastructure and that around Brisbane and the sunny coast. You know, the regional Queensland pays for all that, you know, out of the coal royalties. It's just making the economy, Queensland economy, thrive. So here's a train going out now. I think it's $1 million a train. So, Shane, can you tell me your perspective on the way that Bravus, which is obviously the name that Adani goes by here in Australia, how they're running the Carmichael mine?
I'm concerned that Bravus aren't towing the line as far as what they promised Queensland and the federal government when they set the pit up. They've tried to do everything on the cheap. You know, in the camp, the airstrip is a good example of that. It's only a matter of time that there's going to be a serious accident.
You can only get to site by air flight. A lot of workers fly in, fly out of Sunny Coast, Brisbane, Rockhampton or Townsville. Oh, there he is, landing now. What's happening, mate? No. No, definitely not. Just taking some photos there, that's all. Yeah. We can make a move now anyway.
So his security or what?
Yeah, security. That's why he's got to sit there and watch us.
Okay.
My understanding, they want maximum production every single day. It's just push, push, push to get the coal out. We have high exceedances on dust levels. They don't even give them dust monitors so that they can monitor it and then walk off the job when the dust comes in.
And how does that dust issue compare here compared to other mines?
Oh, it's the worst I've seen. And then there's the conditions of the roads. That's when they get injured. Ravis want their chunk of money for their coal, and they just put the pressure on the workers.
Oh wow, that's a lot. Fingers crossed. Who would know that walnuts clean hydrocarbons?
We were drinking the groundwater from here for like a couple of years, but once we saw the results of those tests, we had to start buying drinking water, which was pretty sad and expensive.
It's a hot place and it's just getting hotter. Think about all the birds and all the kangaroos that are drinking all this contaminated water. What's happening to them? Everything's getting covered in coal dust. One walnut filter. Done. Let's see if this works. Boom. It works. Yeah, dogs. Water Molly. I've had a lot of interest in the slide ditch here, so I thought I'd do a video on it. So basically all it is just 2 bits of PVC pipe that you can get from any hardware store. Water Molly. This is the Grevillea. You get it? Tastes just like honey. This is a Barbera, also known as an echidna. These things burrow underneath the ground during bushfires and they hibernate. So this is basically our daily routine. Drive in, put some wood on the fire. There was a lot of people still living down by the springs during like the early 1910s. They said that when farmers got here that there was like 500, and now we're the last remaining clan group.
flag in the front here, so between the two shirts.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think this is going to be all right. My speech is going to be a bit different, I think. But you know.
Yeah.
My name's Adrian Burragubba. We come from Wangan Jagalingou country in the Galilee Basin. We've been standing for 10 years right now against the Adani mining project. And we've stood strong, and my son Bridget was still out there in country. We went in there and we took our land back.
Without the land, you got nothing. Without the water, we're all dead. We got nothing to drink. And we come from the water. We come from the Munagara spirit. That's the spirit dreaming. That's the water spirit. That's where we all come from. And that's what we're fighting for. We're going to protect the Dungabula Springs. It's the ancient set of springs that have been running for millions of years since the beginning of time. Land first! Land first! If we don't have the land, you got nothing. Respect, Guatemala.
Grab your shirts and your flags for the march, guys! Shirts and flags for the march!
When Misha come along, I was just busted.
You guys are
Early
poor as
90s.
well, like proper poor.
How could I be poor? I was like busking every day.
Weren't you living out of your car when you had Cody?
When they had me.
Wasn't
When
Cody
he first
sleeping in
started.
like a cupboard drawer? or something?
When Cody was a baby, I was this great talent.
And he's the most humble man in the world. Didn't you know that?
We moved a lot growing up. I've lived in about 25 houses. They've only ever been in like rentals, so, you know, we were never stable.
Your mother was talking today about the personal effect it's had on this family. 14 years I've been trying to stop that mine. If I had given up way back when, our family may have been different.
I was still in high school when I think that all kind of like launched. I was very hopeful that, you know, in the mine wasn't going to go ahead because I was like, oh yeah, like this is easy. Like why would anyone say yes to this? Why would anyone want, you know, it to destroy our country? Like it's a no-brainer.
And you know what that lawyer did? He stood up in the meeting and he threw his book down and he said, well, if you don't agree to this, we're going to go for compulsory acquisition.
Yeah, we ended up losing it and it was really heartbreaking for our family.
It's good that the workers out here know that there are traditional owners here and that we want to participate in what's going on. Because when we did the Ulua, we talked about a life-changing agreement, not just for us, but for generations to come.
We're in a state of undeclared war against the British colony. They've just come in, they've just taken the land by force, and they don't acknowledge us. What was it? In 1915, they made a law to dispossess Aboriginal people and forcefully assimilate them. Through that act, my grandfather, my father and his brother were taken off their land forcefully by gunpoint, by government officials and the police. They came with the law and dispossess us and take our land and forcefully assimilate our people. I'm coming with their same law that they wrote and saying that you can no longer ignore me and you have to listen to me. That's what it boils down to. We just filed legal action against the Queensland Government and the Supreme Court for the limitation of our human rights if the government doesn't take action immediately to place an environmental protection order on the open cut mine. There will be irreversible damage to the springs and it will affect our culture and it will affect our human rights. Thank you. Sorry about waiting.
Well done.
Thank you. We did it. Thank you to our lawyers. Yes. Every waking hour of every single day of my life for the past 10 years has been about how do I protect the water and how do I stop this mine from destroying the springs. That's what I do. We run a bunch of cases against the Indigenous Land Use Agreement and the Native Title process. Adani decided to walk in on the cases with a bunch of barristers and senior counsel barristers and all these people with wigs and stuff, and then say that I have to pay all their costs because they were involved in the case. I got stung for like $680,000 just for one court case. We can't comment on any further legal matters or what. So then I couldn't pay it because I don't have anything. You know, have didgeridoo will travel, mate, nothing else. And so that's why they did that. They bankrupted me because of the mining company. You can't have a business. You can't rent a house. I've been basically going back and forth to the bush, out to Warranungu, and living like a hobo. I have a nice hat, but I don't own anything. They can't take anything off me because I didn't have anything in the first place. I'm an Aboriginal, mate. We didn't have anything in the first place. All we had is land and country, and that's all I had.
I finished an article for SBS, a local news organisation, looking at the unsafe working conditions at the Carmichael mine, which was published a few weeks ago. It seemed to have some impact in the public. There was a fair bit of discussion about that. So now I've decided to head back up to talk to some of the traditional owners to find out what the actual impacts of the Carmichael coal mine have been.
How are you?
Hey Jackie, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. Just calling to let you know I'm about 1 hour away, so yeah.
That's fine.
Okay.
I'll see you when you get here.
So at the moment we're 50 minutes away from Jackie Broderick. She'll be the first person that I will speak to who I don't think has a political position either for or against the mine. I think that the issue is very controversial. It's been very politicised. I've reached out to other elders who have said that they don't want to speak publicly. Jackie lives just outside of Cherbourg, a former mission area, so a lot of Wangan and Yagalingu people were forced to move there.
while Queensland was colonised. Good to meet you, Jackie.
You, him, Jackie.
So who lives here with you, Jackie?
At the moment, I got my grandson. I'm kinship carer.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Granny Morty grew up on that country and she roamed it as a young girl until they removed them from there in 1917, 18, the removals process. And Granny Morty came with her mother and father to Cherbourg on the train. We've got all the documentation, it's all there. Dad's mother's name was Jessie McAvoy. Granny Morty was Morty McAvoy.
And so what is your relationship with Adrian Burugubba?
We'd be cousins. Okay, we'd be cousins.
Were you born in Cherbourg?
Yeah, born in Cherbourg in 1958.
Mm-hmm.
Went through the dormitory system. I don't think any families, maybe a couple of families were lucky enough to escape that path.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of families separated. When you lose your mother and your father, oh man, I couldn't even remember what my mother looked like.
What would you say the impact of the Adani mine has been on the W&J community?
It was a done thing from the beginning. We got out of it what we could. We did all the consultations, we had all the meetings, the authorisations, the explanations. But then again, if we hadn't agreed, they just went ahead. We were told that at that meeting. It was just a process. The government has the final say. Take what's on offer. I know it's like a cop-out, but Jesus Christ. Monies that come from those royalties helps to pay for our mob funeral. We need to bury our mob, pay for education opportunities, our kids' sporting opportunities, our kids excel in sports.
It seems like the mine sort of split the W&J community.
Oh, it has. And that's what native title was all about. Divide and conquer. We all know that. Divide and conquer, and it's done it. It split families. The infighting I see is unreal. We've even been a part of it. Unreal. You sit back and you think later, what have we done, you know? And the destruction of the land. I feel terrible about that happening. I feel terrible, but we're helpless. We can't stop it. Like I said, we won't be able to stop it. No way in the world. No way in the world.
Managed to organise an interview with a guy named Tim Wissart, who is the CEO of the Queensland South Native Title Service, because I'm hoping he can shed some light onto this whole situation.
Some native title groups have negotiated very good outcomes with mining companies and set themselves up economically into the future. Others have had mining companies run roughshod over them. With the W&J, you could say that the pro-Adani people were looking at the economic future of their people, and the anti-Adani group were and still are looking at the cultural future of their people.
So what happened with this W&J claim, what kind of rights to
the land do they have now?
What ultimately happened is that the judge made a determination that native title did not exist in the claim area, and it's now subject to an application to the High Court of Australia for special leave to appeal.
Okay.
So the state's just got to really demonstrate to the court that the group's lost connection. And that's, unfortunately, that's not that hard for the state to do in most cases. With Wagon and Jagalingou, I think the state cross-examined Aboriginal people very vigorously and pretty cynically. And the state weren't in any way trying to help the claimants succeed in their case.
Sounds like extremely unfair on the, on the Aboriginal groups if for no fault of their own and for quite explicitly the fault of the colonial power, they've lost that connection.
I agree. They were told that they couldn't speak language. Men were separated from their wives, kids from their parents. And if they practiced culture, they were punished. The Native Title Act attempts to mitigate against that by encouraging the states to settle native title claims through negotiation. But if the state goes hard, you're going to lose. I don't think it's a particularly fair system, but it's all we've got at the moment.
So right now we are headed to Waddanangu, Cody McAvoy's reoccupation camp that is right opposite the Carmichael coal mine. Every time I come out here, the mine looks dramatically different with these overburden piles getting closer and closer to the road. So just astonishing the speed really of which the mine is expanding.
We do the representation of Munagara, the rainbow serpent, connects all the water tables, all the springs all together. Then we've got the handprint. That's to connect you into Wadnani with the ground. And then with the Wangan and Bungan, it's the two old grandmothers coming to bless you, taking away old bad spirits. Connect you here to country, and the old people know that you're here through the fire ceremony.
Does anyone have native title over here?
No, it's all been extinguished. It's only been in the last couple of months that we lost the appeal, and so there's just nothing now. That same judge bankrupted my dad. This is one word that he said to my dad was this shambolic process, such and such, such and such. So I remembered that word. And while I was sitting in court and he was there as our native title judge, right at the end of the day, I said, I do not subscribe to this shambolic native title system. I am only here to prove to you who I am, and that I'm leaving this building and I'm going back to my country. So this is basically a satellite map, and we've been slowly going through and putting stuff in. That's a significant artefact site. When we're born, our parents would cut a tree open and they would put the placenta inside the tree, and then they would close the tree back up, and then that would be your tree your whole life. That's the tree that you practice throwing spears at. And when you die, this is the tree that they would bury you in, basically. And there's heaps of them around here. Marked. And there's another one just there.
senior executives at Rio Tinto faced a parliamentary inquiry to explain how 46,000-year-old Aboriginal heritage sites at Juukan Gorge in Western Australia were detonated to allow the expansion of an iron ore mine.
The Juukan Gorge incident, I feel sorry and probably ashamed for that. That shouldn't have never happened.
Why did it happen?
I think it's a pretty tough question. Why did it happen then? I don't think that we understood the significance of the site and the land where it is.
Many Aboriginal people do cultural heritage like I used to do cultural heritage work, unknowing of, you know, the destruction of what we're doing to our own culture. Throughout all the process of working in the mines and stuff like that, I was the one that wrote, yep, all good, there's no more artefacts there. And they just come along, just... And so you feel responsible for it. So I started giving it to the mining companies while working as a cultural heritage person. I was on like $750 a day, man. But it didn't make me happy. Adani came around and I was just like, no. Now it's time to turn around and say enough's enough. This has got to do with tribal law. They're just bringing in Aboriginal people here to come and pick up our artefacts. Still here. So then they can destroy that area. And I refuse to let that happen.
If I have to lay punishment on every single one of those people that come out here, that don't come through my ceremony, then I will lay that punishment on them myself. If you think I'm playing, come here. Because I'm prepared to die for my country. Are you prepared to die for your cultural heritage job? Because I tell you what, you won't be walking out of here. And the police will be standing out the front, and I'll say to them, have the ambulance ready. If you think that you can come into my backyard with the protection of a stupid-ass Adani security, you're sorely mistaken. Get out of the car. Who you? Right, get out of the car. Go on. Trouble. Go on. Do not interfere. Do not interfere. Do not interfere. Hands off him. Who are you? Get your hands off him now. Get your hands. Trouble law. Wait. Trouble law. Wait. You're not interfere with this. Hey, you've already physically grabbed him. You physically grabbed him. What's your name? You're physically. Yeah, you're my country brother. Yeah. I'm asking you.
He's come in here on my country and he's not even from here. He's from Townsville, which is like 5 hours drive away.
They set you up, brother. They set you up. This is my tribal home. You know, I've been here for 551 days.
551.
And the government can't do nothing. I'm not here to fight. I see your hand, bro. You were here to fight with him. Don't touch him. Look, don't touch him. Don't touch him. Don't touch him.
And then by the end of it, he said, oh, sorry, brother, I didn't know. Because I said, you're more than welcome to come in here anytime you want. You just got to tell me and just come in and sit down. I can teach you language if you want, but you can't come in here with them. And we shook hands. I got that on film, we were shaking hands. And then they left, and then they put a common assault charge on me. I'm sorry that I might have been a bit like loud or something, but I'm not sorry for anything else because they trespassed into my home. I'm sorry if they felt scared.
saucepan. All the mob up there camped on country. They've gone about everything wrong. You don't make your own laws. We all voted to go with Adani. And isn't it that majority rules? We could all see the benefit in it.
So when Adani was presenting the benefits, what benefits were they presenting?
The establishment of a coach service that would be run by our mob eventually to deliver workers from camp to worksite, blah, 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 all of that stuff. And to eventually learn how to run the airport that they were building. Okay? That was all there, but somehow that hasn't happened. Okay, that hasn't happened. And in the meantime, we are powerless to do anything anyway. What do? You bite the hand that feeds?
So I'm almost finished writing this very long article looking into the Indigenous consent process, if you can call it that, for the mine. The story of Adani and the Wangan Jagalingou people is so complex and controversial and ultimately damning of the Australian system. There was never a path that the traditional owners had to actually stop the mine, to say no to the mine. And they were explicitly told, you have to agree to this mine or you'll get nothing.
How long do you think Cody will be out there for?
He's been out there for nearly 4 years and he's one of the most willful and determined people who I've ever met. So I think most people by now would have got tired of it or given up, and he only appears to be becoming more determined to stay out there for longer.
We learned recently that Australia's peak science agency, the CSIRO, was asked to have a look at the new modelling that had been done by the mining company, as well as some of the monitoring data that had been coming through. That CSIRO review found that the model was not fit for the purpose of properly predicting the impacts of the mine on the Dulmabulla Springs. And I think it very clearly reinforced some of the things that we found very similar and pretty serious flaws with how the modelling had been done and how the mining company are actually monitoring and understanding the groundwater system. The CSIRO also found that Adani were not adhering to some of the conditions under their environmental authority relating to groundwater and the springs, and again lined up with what I was finding in my review of the work, which was showing the unexpected levels of drawdown, the unexpected occurrence of hydrocarbons. So that's an early warning that there could be some serious impact coming from the mine. We don't know the exact point in time at which that spreading of the impact may start to really cause damage to these springs. So I think waiting another 12 months and not doing anything to sort of limit the activity of the mine is a really risky approach. In terms of the footprint of the mine, currently it's only about a fifth or a sixth of what's been fully approved for the whole project here. Any big upscale in the size and the footprint of the mine means further impact on the groundwater system. I'd say that's a real concern for risk to the springs. careful from this point now, because there really are only very isolated places on this continent where you can get permanent fresh water from springs like this. So, you know, if they get lost one by one, we lose something incredibly important for our whole country.
Well,
So tell me, what's happening?
Nothing that important.
Nothing. Oh, I know about the court case and stuff.
Gaga, hey Gaga. Hey.
No.
So we're going to go into the court on Friday with our lawyers, and court can force the government to place an environmental protection order on the open cut mine, meaning stop work. So if we stop work at the Carmichael mine, all those people out there have to put the tools down, have to get in their cars and get the out. This is not against the Adani. This is against the government.
So it's because the government is the defendant because the government failed in their duty to be able to enforce environmental protection.
Yeah.
Yeah. Focusing specifically on the springs themselves, ain't you?
This is not about stopping coal mining. It's about our human rights, and that the government cannot ignore our human rights any further. Okay, this has taken me 2 years to get here. It's taken me half an hour to explain it. How do you feel about that, family? What do you reckon?
Protecting the water.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Protect the water. We're not going to take no for an answer.
I think I'm pretty lucky, you know, to have him as a parent. You know, why would you want anyone else? If we won this case and the mine gets a stop work order, I don't even know how I'd feel. Like, I think the joy would just kind of be overwhelming.
The government has failed in their duty to protect the springs, and that's why we're in the court today.
She's rounding us up.
Yeah. Cheese.
Justice.
Yeah, keep the fire burning.
Keep the fire burning.
Dad seems pretty confident. All the lawyers are pretty happy about the outcome. I guess I'm not really holding my breath about it. I'm not expecting to have any sort of outcome in our favour because it's the Queensland government, you know.
This mine will create massive amounts of climate change damage. It will create massive damage to our sacred site called the Dungabula Springs. Our governments are failing me, they're failing my people. We need the government to hold accountability to mining companies. They've signed environmental agreements, they've signed contracts. You've broken those contracts, now take away their mining leases. They're not allowed to have these if they're going to continue to destroy Australia's natural assets. Thank you.
Our commitment to the resources sector is ironclad. We know how important mining is to Queensland. It is the largest industry in this state, contributing $86 billion to the Queensland economy. More than 77,300 people work in the Queensland mining sector, and we will never take them for granted. I've signed 30 new mining leases since we came to government, and I'm only just getting started. We have 9 coal mining projects waiting in the wings to go. And what does this mean? Jobs for Queenslanders. We're serious about cutting the red tape, getting rid of those delays. We're going to make it happen. As I keep saying, Queensland, we're open for business.
Some of the key objectives of our member companies within Coal Australia is very much about driving down energy prices, ensuring energy security, and most importantly, driving prosperity for regional communities, for states and the nation more broadly.
Watermulling, how are we all doing? This is the land of the rainbow serpent, of the waterhole dreaming. From waterhole to aquifer, we're all connected around this whole thing. Water is our God here, because there is no life without water. This definitely seems like the epitome of a David and Goliath fight, when it really comes down to a hard-headed family that just refuses to accept defeat. See all these footprints here? They're like all twisting. These are all brogas dancing. Dancing ground for birds. With the feet on the ground. I don't plan on leaving anytime soon. This is a part of me, this place.